Sanam aloha, everyone. Welcome to the live stream. And let me know if you can hear me. I was really called to come on here now. This is not my usual time. So this live stream's all about fear. We're going to talk about fear. And tomorrow I'll do one on the full moon in Sagittarius. Okay? So let me know if people are actually experiencing fear in their life, especially this month of May. Maybe you're experiencing fear right now in this present moment. And I'd be surprised if you're not. Okay, so let me just share my... and we'll get rid of Pisces here. Okay. So let's talk about fear. Right here. Okay, good. You can hear me. Okay. So fear is the vampire's food. The vampire's food. So the vampire is actually inside you, and it's this ego. It's this voice in your head that you believe is you. It's not you, right? And so this is what steals our power. Right? Our power, our vitality, our optimism, and our creativity. Right? Our creativity is our greatest power. And it eats at our energetic aura of protection. Right? Our electromagnetic field that surrounds us, 9 feet in every direction, is healthy aura. Fear steals 3 feet, at least 3 feet from our aura. It steals from our pranic body. That's one of the 10 bodies. According to Kundalini Yoga meditation, this is our breath. Right, our breath, so our breath becomes shallow. We become weaker, basically, physically and spiritually weaker, right? So we can't fend off disease, right? Disease and illness and negativity, right? Age more quickly, right? With fear, and spiritually we just dry up. So this makes us live in a delusion, is fear. Makes us live in a delusion. This is the bad dream. It's the psychosis. So most people on the planet, they're living in this psychosis, right? Like a hypnosis. Yeah. Yes, and that's insecurity. Lorian says, yes, circumstances have really been pulling out my deepest fears of security. Yeah. And that's insecurity. Okay, so let's go to the next one, and we'll go into more into this fear here. So what is fear? Right? It's worry. It's anxiety. It's waiting for the other shoe to drop. You know, it can make you paralyzed. You can become paralyzed with fear. This is the fight, flight, or freeze, or fawn. Right? Starts to get activated, right? This is the feeling, oh, there's something bad's going to happen. I know something bad's going to happen. It can be buried. Your fear, you can even be, especially if you've got the primal wound of hidden, right, in your human design chart, it can be buried by body pain, illness, and just general bad health. So you may not even be aware that you're in fear, but if you're experiencing these things, it's fear. You're just not aware of it. So it can show up in your life through money problems, right? So in terms of like the collective of humanity, something in the external, this is how the universe works, something in the external has to represent that frequency of fear. And so as a collective, we've all agreed at the soul level that it would be money. Like money and fear are the same. They're synonymous, right? So it can show up through money problems, and you may have like tons of money in your bank account. You may be one of those people, but you don't see the blessing in that. You're still fearful. You're fearful that you'll lose your money. People that have not very little or not enough money in their bank account or just enough money in their bank account, they too have the fear of, is it going to come? Will it show up for me, right? So both are the same, right? It's the fear. It's the frequency of fear. It's not about the thing outside you, right? It's about the frequency. So it can show up through relationship and health problems. This is fear. Accidents, right? Crisis, and just general drama in your life. This is the frequency of fear that's moving through you, that needs to be integrated now. So fear can make us make bad decisions, right? We're not clear. Because what we want to get rid of is we want to get rid of that feeling of fear, right? So we're listening to that ego, the inner vampire, the parasite inside you that's telling you to do this and do that, and promises, right? The ego makes a lot of promises that doesn't keep, right? And so it's really about, I want to get rid of this fear, this feeling of fear, right? So, and not valuing yourself when you're in the frequency of fear. You believe that you're not worthy. You're not worthy. You settle for less, right? You play small, and you live from your animal self, which is the ego. Remember, we're three parts. We have our animal self. This is our ego and shadow. We've got our human, and then we have our angel self, right? So we live more in that dimension, right? So we've got the angel and the animal, right? We have all three parts of these. We have all these three parts within us that we have to integrate. We want to become more in our angel self for the Aquarian age. Okay, so is fear even real? That's the question on the table here. Is fear even real? Because you hear this from New Age teachings. Well, fear is just an illusion. Fear is an illusion. You just need to make different choices, right? You need to make different choices. Yeah, it's an illusion. It's fear. You know those teachings. Well, let's talk about this here. So what is real? That was the slide here I have. Right? So what is real? Well, real is what is permanent. By this definition, what is permanent? So fear comes and goes. It does. If you watch this, fear will come and go. So yes, that's true, that it's not real because it's not permanent. Fear isn't permanent. But it's real in the sense that it's like visceral in your body, right? It's felt through the heightened senses. It's experienced through the heightened senses. This is your ancient awareness system, right? That we still have. Here we are, we're evolving, right? For the Aquarian age, spiritually evolving. But then we have these ancient bodies that we inhabit, right? And they come with this ancient awareness system, which was all about keeping the species alive, right? So we still have this system, right? But we can't get pulled down by it. So these are the heightened senses, right? The sound and hearing. Is that a predator outside, right? Your vision is clear. Is there any movement out here that I can see? It's all about predator-prey, right? Our animal self. Our nervous system's activated, our blood's racing, our heart's pounding, temperature rising. It's not a comfortable feeling, but it served us in the past, right, to keep us alive. So the truth, the capital T truth is here. So it's not real, and yet it is real, like the paradox here, right? But ultimately, spiritually, it's not real, right, because it's not permanent. So the truth, the capital T truth, is that fear is just a frequency of energy. That's all it is. It's a frequency of energy that's moving through you, the great being that you are, which is permanent. That's your spirit. That's your spiritual higher self that was never born and will never die, your eternal self. So the fear is moving through this being, right? So yes, it's moving through your body, but if you're identified with the body, you're listening to the ego and you're just completely identified with the body, then you get sucked in to that belief that, oh, I'm just these five senses and this mind and this physical body, right? Then you're locked in, you're trapped, right? Then you're trapped. You believe you're trapped. You get sucked in, right, to the nightmare. So it's the capital T truth is this is just fear that's a frequency that's moving through my being, right? So fear has nothing to do with the external world, and the ego is going to tell you that. It has, well, if I had this, or if I got rid of this, then this fear would leave because it's uncomfortable, right? These are the promises, the false promises of the ego. We need to remember that the external world is neutral, right? It's completely neutral, and it's the ego is projecting the fear out into the external world, and you are believing it, right? And you're choosing to believe it. Okay. And then, right? So fear is already inside of us, right? Fear is already inside of us. I want to go into that one next. So let's go into the spiritual purpose of fear first, right? So this is the age of enlightenment, right? It's the great awakening, right? So this is our unconscious fears need to be made conscious. That's what we're going through right now. The unconscious needs to be made conscious now. And the unconscious is loaded with fears. I don't think I put that here. So it can be ancestral fears. It can be fears just from this lifetime, stuck fears in your emotional body. Or it could be ancestral fears too, ancestral past life and this lifetime fears. So we're learning, right, that we're eternal beings not bounded by time. That's our true identity. So what is enlightenment? Just simply, it's feeling peaceful and happy for no reason. That's what enlightenment is. That's what awakening is to realize yourself, yes, which isn't a concept. It just is, right? That you're just this, your eternal self. And it's feeling that peace and happy for no reason. And this is what we all want. We all want this right here. We want to be the self. That's what we're really seeking. But the ego's got us on a wild goose chase. A wild goose chase. Well, you'll get this happiness and peace. That's this deep, deep desire, because it's a desire to return home to the self, right? But the ego's in there using that energy and then telling you these lies, the parasite, so it can be fed. It's like, it's about a relationship. You need that perfect relationship. And then you start chasing this carrot, right? Or you need this, you need more money, or you need this job, or you need to live here, or you need to live there. You need to get rid of this. You need to get rid of that, right? You need perfect health. You need the perfect body, right? So it gets you on this wild goose chase. And or fame, that's a big one too, right? To be acknowledged and valued, which is like just valuing the ego, because I want that peace and I want that happiness, right? But once you get it, if it's an ego desire, it doesn't last very long because you're on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. But what you're really seeking is to go back home, right? Into this eternal self that's already here. It's in this moment. Right now, it's here for you. So fear let's look at this. Like what fear shows you is what you're not. The spiritual purpose of fear. It's like fear shows you what you're not. So we live in a plane of duality. So you find one thing, you're going to find its opposite. This is just how the play of consciousness is duality, right? So we too are dualistic. I talked about that in my last video. Right? So we're learning discernment. What is me and what's not me? So fear shows you what's not you, right? Because it's the food of the ego. It's the food of the ego. So fear is the atmosphere of the ego. The ego thrives in fear. It lives in fear. Breathes in fear. Loves fear. So of course it wants to keep you in fear, right? But love, which you are, the feeling peaceful and happy for no reason, the eternal self, the ego can't live there. It can't live where you are, right? Where you are. So as soon as you believe the ego stories of fears, then boom, the nightmare begins for you. And the nightmare is the suffering, right? It's the suffering. This is the anxiety and the worrying and about the future and the past and the drama and the crisis and all that. That's the nightmare, right? The conflict, all of that stuff. So we have to remember Okay, that fear is already inside of us, because let's look at it collectively, right? Collectively right now. Fear is already inside of us, and it's stuck in the emotional body, right? From past lives, ancestral fear, or this lifetime. And this fear can be manipulated. So it's already inside you. It has nothing to do with the external world. It's already inside you. Remember, the unconscious needs to be made conscious. The shadow needs to come into the light. The shadow is the fear, right? It's just coming up. It's coming to the surface. Well, it can be manipulated, right? It can be manipulated to release through triggering. This is the dualistic, right, nature of the planet right now, the dark and the light, right? These forces of dark and light. So the fear can be manipulated through images and sounds, bad stories, memories can trigger this fear, right? And these can be ancient memories, right, of a cataclysm. We all remember the fall of Atlantis and falls of empires and all the things that we have gone through as a human species. They can be triggered, right? This fear can be triggered. And you can't control the masses without keeping them in fear. You can't control the masses without keeping them. You can't be manipulated or controlled if you're not in this frequency of fear. If you're in your true self and your authentic self, then there's nothing to fear. There's nothing to fear. So it's about creating a threat. So remember my last video, history repeating itself, the 1500s, right? This is when Pluto was in Capricorn and moving into Aquarius, the time that we're in right now. And Neptune was in Pisces. Well, the biggest fear here collectively was the fear of God, because the Catholic Church had so much power, right, and control. It was the fear of God. Permanent damnation, hell and damnation kept people controlled, right? Controlled and in the dark and the ignorance of who they truly are. And now we've got the fear of physical death. This is what's really triggering people now, is the fear of physical death. So I saw an interesting statistic was 50% of Americans didn't believe in God. Now, right away, I want to ask, well, when people hear that word God, they get triggered because of our ancient memories of how we were manipulated, right, by religion, organized religion, and their version of God, religion's version of God, right, which is just a projection of the ego. That, yeah, of course, I don't believe in that either. I don't believe in that version of God, religion's or the ego's projection of God. No, I don't believe in that either. But if they're saying 50% don't believe in divinity, their own divinity, then that's really not upsetting, but a reason for concern, I guess, for us as a collective of humanity. But I totally understand why people are turning away from religion, right? But they've got what they're seeking is their own spirit, right? They're seeking their own eternal self. So to watch this, right? So right now you've got to face your internal fear so you don't get sucked into this parallel timeline, right? And so you can't be manipulated to act or make decisions that go against your true nature, right? This is the delusion that you want to break out of. So this is really, really key, right? This emotion of fear. Okay. So fear is going to be amping up because Pluto's going back into Capricorn. It came into, so remember Pluto? Pluto came into Capricorn in 2008, stirred it all up, brought up all that corruption, just like in the 1500s with the church, brought up all the corruption, the rot of the institution, the lies, right? The deception. That's what Pluto does, so that we can see it. Well, it's moving back. So it moved into Aquarius, that's what we're in right now, for a sneak peek on March 23rd to stir things up. According wherever it sits in your chart, it's going to stir that up. And then it's moving back in June 11th. And it's going to stay there until January. So the fear will be, you can count on this. Take this right to the bank. The fear is going to be amping up because Capricorn's all about control. I have to control, right? So the control mechanism, The fuel for that control mechanism is fear, right? Is fear. And then it will go into Aquarius in January, and then we're in there for, 20 years. So this is the solar flare activity that's not talked about. This is triggering, right? It's penetrating through the aura of the earth, which is releasing memory, right? Our memories, our ancient memories are held by the electromagnetic field of the earth, penetrating through that, penetrating through our own auras, releasing our own personal memory, past life memory, right? This lifetime memory, ancestral memory, to start releasing. So these fears have to start releasing. They're coming up to the surface to be integrated, And then, and fear is the currency, right, for the power and control mechanism. So you need to face your deepest fears, right? So remember that the only real threat inside you is this ego. That's the only real threat inside you, is that ego. That's the parasite. That's the inner vampire, right? So I just want to look at some comments, but I have some other things to share with you, which I didn't download for some reason. Another slide. I love my slides. Let's see. Okay, what can you do? Here we go. There we go. This is it right here. Okay. So what can you do? I love empowering people. What can you do? Well, you don't get sucked into that parallel timeline of fear. And a lot of humans are going to choose that parallel. Remember the South Node's in Scorpio. It's looking for a savior, right? So some people are going to get sucked into the South Node and get stuck in this parallel timeline of fear. So you want to be on another parallel timeline, which is it's moving into the unknown. So it's facing fears of the unknown, right? The uncertainty. So what can you do here? Well, you got to stop when you feel fear starting to rise within you. So being aware. So meditation makes you aware, right? The meditation gives you a relationship with your own mind. So you meditate. Everybody should be meditating, watching this. Everybody, right? At least 3 minutes a day meditation. I've got lots of free meditations on my channel, right? And this gives you, it gives you the relationship with the mind, and then it's like a barometer. Like, how am I feeling today? It's like you're checking in with yourself. And right away, you'll know what your day's going to be. Right? You get your marching orders from the divine, from your higher self. It's like, oh, this is really up for me right now. I'm really worried about this or that, right? I'm concerned about this. Well, this is the fear starting to arise, and this is like your work, right? So the divine is giving you your work to do. And you're giving it in piecemeal. Remember that, because the ego can get like, oh, I can't handle this. I'm too overwhelmed. I can't take anymore. I'm overwhelmed. It gives you just as much as you need, right, that you're capable of handling. It's piecemeal. It will be too much of it all at once. Okay, so the sadhana, which is the stopping, and then during the day, it's like, stop, I'm in fear right now. I can't make any, and even if you're being pressured to make a decision, it's like, give yourself time and space. I need some time to like think about this and meditate on this. Don't be making rash, impulsive decisions, listening to that ego. So stopping, giving yourself space, right? And then you feel it. Remember, it's a frequency moving through your greater being, right? It's just a frequency without attaching to a story. Now, this is the challenge, because this is going to be screaming in your ear, right? It's going to be screaming in your ear, that ego, that inner vampire, that parasite, about all these horrible things are going to be happening, and this will happen, and that will happen, right? You'll be out on the street with a cup and a cardboard box, whatever that ego's telling you. You don't attach to it. You don't attach to the story, and you remind yourself that I'm just here to feel. I open my heart, and I just feel it, and I move through it. I just feel it. No story. So that's your challenge right there, is to not listen to the story. Let it ramble. The ego will ramble in the background, screaming at the top of its lungs, because it's being starved, right? It's being starved by you feeling it, integrating and letting it go. So you don't feed it. You don't feed the ego, and that's attaching to the story and then acting on it, and then acting on it, and then right away you're in your animal self. You're reacting or acting. So this time is really about taking the feminine approach, right? The feminine approach, which what is the feminine? It's to allow, right? What does the feminine energy do? We have both, all of us, right? Male, masculine and feminine energy. We allow it. We allow a space for it. That fear, we don't try to fight it or try to get rid of it. We just allow it to come, like allow a space inside you for it to come. And then you include it, right? So that's not pushing it away. I'm including this in my experience right now. I'm going to integrate it. I receive it. I receive it. Because most of our suffering happens because we're resisting, right? These energies that want to be integrated and move through us, right? And then we feel the fear. So we let it in. We feel the fear. And then what comes after that is grief, right? So it's the layer cake that I talked about. So anger can be up there. Anger is always a mask for fear and grief. So you feel the fear. So you can be angry, but get to that point of like, oh, there's fear underneath this anger. I'm going to sit with the anger. I'm going to allow the anger to be there. And then the fear will start to come up. And then the grief is at the end. And that's crying. And then boom, you're in. You're into your higher self, right? This is the emotional integration that we're being called to do. What I talk about endlessly, about we're evolving through our emotional body. And then you're in. So fear is really the knocking at your door. Come back home, right? Come back home. And this is what's permanent, right? That fear, remind yourself, because the ego will say, you're always going to feel this way. You need to get rid of this. You need to do something. You need to do something. The ego is all about doing something. Going and getting something, right? Or getting rid of something, right? It's not permanent. These emotions are not permanent. Energy and motion. So you want, the higher self is permanent. That's what you really are. And then it's funny, I think the oldest video that I have online is from 2009. I don't know how many years that is now. But it's this one, for fear, back when I was wearing the Turbinator. And this is Rama Da Sa Sa Se So Hung. Rama Da Sa Sa Se So Hung. It's a mantra from Kundalini Yoga. I think I have a modern version too. I'll put a link to it below. I know I have it somewhere on YouTube. But you take your ring finger of your left hand, right there, and then you wrap your fingers around that, and then you bring your hands in kind of a fist and just snuggle your thumbs together like that, and then you bring that to your heart center, and you relax your shoulders and relax your neck muscles and relax your temples, and you just chant Rama Da Sa Sa Se So Hung. Rama Da Sa Sa Se So Hung. Rama Da Sa Sa Se So Hung. And this helps you to go inside. It's very like nurturing for the heart, for your heart chakra, right? Okay, so let me see some comments because I love the feedback. And then, okay. Oh. So, no, I'm Massachusetts. God bless your mom. Yeah. And that's big for a Cancer moon, right? To lose the mother. Yeah. There's lots of people leaving the planet right now. But remember, she's going home. So you can pray for her Massachusetts corruption. Pray that she go back home, that she remember her true identity and go back home. Okay. Yeah. Rachel Reed, you're right on the energy, right? Fear is my issue, and guess no cash, right? So the money. So the what I said Like, listen to what I said and listen to this again, right? This live stream is to separate the external. What you're doing, what the ego is tricking you into believing is that if I just have money, then the fear will go away. And that's not true, right? The fear, the no cash is just the trigger. It's triggering the fear to start to surface, but that fear is deep within your unconscious, probably from your ancestors too. Depends where your Pluto too is in your chart, where your Pluto shows you your deepest fears. And to separate, it's like, my only job right now, and this is such a blessing, because remember, the universe is benevolent, right? It's very generous in giving us what we need to heal and to integrate and to awaken. It's all about your awakening, is to go inside, right? And remember, my only job right now is to feel this fear, right? So it's like separating from the external, right? Because everything's coming here. Everything's coming from yourself, your higher self. Yeah. Yeah. And really check in too if your ego is saying, like, isolate, right? Yeah. You want to make sure that you're not listening to this ego. Because sometimes just expressing it, going out with some friends, some trusted friends, and just to express it and bring it out into the light, like you're doing right now with us, yeah, helps to bring this energy of the ego out into the light. Do you get that, everybody? Like, to really separate from what is out here in the movie to what the source of everything is coming from within you. Okay. M. Bain's body pain is knocking me around. Getting the KO, eh? Knockout since yesterday. Neck and shoulders, headache in the back of my head, all on the left side. That's the feminine. The left side's the feminine. Neck and shoulders, right? Neck and shoulder pain is the ego is tricking you into, like, you're doing everything, right? The ego's doing everything. You're doing all the heavy lifting. It's time to start relying on your divine self. It's like, I can't carry this anymore. I need to give this to my my divinity. Right? This feminine energy has to awaken in all of us, men and women, right? Okay. Okay. Feel peace and protected. That's great. Yeah, of course it's irritated right now. It's the truth, the frequency of truth. Rachel Reed, Michael, a question. No matter how much, Rachel Reed asks, no matter how much I feel and release fear, it's still here 54 years in. Since birth, humans scare me and I have no idea why. I still live life, but it's a mystery. Yeah. Well, this is, we have to remember with healing, it's not just a linear path, And that's the ego with the timeline. Well, I should be through with this, I'm 54 years old, you're saying, right? It's been with me since birth. Well, now it's the opportunity to let it go. So I feel like the money stuff is really like pressuring you to release this now, right? Release this fear. So just remind yourself, it's just a frequency. It's about feeling, and it's like, I'm going to go deeper. I'm going to go, that spiral is going really, really deep within me. I'm going to go deeper, and I'm going to allow a space for this fear to come up, right? Yeah. And humans don't scare you. This is the ego, right? The ego. This is all childhood stuff too. That's what I'm seeing here as well, right? This fear of humans. Yeah, it's about you not feeling safe in the world. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know if you've done inner child work. That would really, really help you. But meditation will help. Yeah. and following the hot tips I gave you. Okay. Yeah, the Akal. Thanks, M. Baines. The Akal mantra means deathless. Okay, so you can chant that 3 times. Massachusetts corruption for your mother transitioning. Yeah, but most importantly, Massachusetts is to feel the greatest thing that the action that you can do for your mother or people that have passed on is to actually allow that grief to come and shatter your heart, right? And this is very primal to lose a mother, right? So this is an opportunity for you to really shatter your heart open. Yeah. Okay. Okay, what else did I want to say here is I want to remind people I'm starting another group coaching. So with only 6 people, we'll limit it to 8 people. And so this is if you want to go like really, really deep and you need that support. You really need that support. And I work with your charts, both charts, human design and Pluto. So you get individual attention, but Pluto really, the Pluto we go deep into, and then the Jupiter, and then other things that come up, and then in my intuition, of course, to help guide people along and to really see the patterns. I'm a projector, so I'm really good at pattern recognition. It's like, oh, your chart starts to come alive for you, basically. But you see what your deepest fears are, what you're here to transmute in this incarnation. In this deepest identity. So we all have this ego, right? We all have this ego, but it's not the same ego. It's the same like in the general sense that it's a parasite, but it has a unique flavor to you according to your chart, right? And then we look at your deepest fears, because there's the free-floating fear, but there's fear of responsibility, fear of the past, fear of failure, fear of authority, fear of not doing your purpose, right? Fear of inadequacy. That's all in the chart too. Okay, so keep that in mind. And that's going to start on summer solstice, right? Summer solstice. And then the other thing is my Awakening the Sleeping Phoenix. So this is a 6-module program. I'm so not good at tooting my own horn, but my divine self is like, you need to start tooting, right? You need to start tooting. So if you're my North Node's in Cancer, that's my specialty, is emotions, right? Emotions and inner child work. So if you're feeling like I can't handle my emotional self, there's all this stuff, I'm stuck, right? That's a good word, like you're emotionally stuck. There's no movement happening in my emotions, so there's no movement happening out here. Then you need to do emotional work. And so this is what the Sleeping Phoenix is about. And I just want to show you here is, where do we go? Okay. Right here. So I just want to show it to you. Okay. So there's the Sleeping Phoenix. So you can see all the content you get here, right? So this is just module 1. And then, okay, let's do this here. So it gives you like an overview of what the time that we're in right now, okay? And then, okay, so you get that, all these videos, okay? Module 2. How the emotional body works, the purpose of it, right? This all comes with meditation and sadhana, guilt, forgiveness, work, reparenting yourself, the Trinity, how to let go of negative influence of parents, narcissistic parents, anger as your teacher, right? And then ego, of course, can't let go of ego. Codependency, what's a shadow? all this stuff. So it's filled with tons and tons of information for you. And so it's regularly $3.99, and I'm going to have it for $99 because I want people to get on to start doing this work. And the meditations are very, very powerful, right? All Kundalini Yoga meditations, plus other tools that I use too. So keep that in mind. So that's going to be the month of June. So awakening the sleeping phoenix. If you feel like the emotions are coming up so strong for me, I need to do something. I need to come into this. I really want this peace and happiness, Michael. I really want it. Well, it's going to come through you facing your greatest fears. And that comes through the emotional body, right? Okay. So let's, right here. Okay. Okay, so that's all I want to say. I've done my due diligence, universe. Okay. What else do I want to do here? I want to do a card because I love doing my ego cards while we're here as a group, as a collective. Plus you get to meet other people that are on this path that are doing this work. And it's a good way you'll be really prepared for this time. So ego's already given us fear. Let's see what else it does given us. Okay, what do we have? What's the ego telling our friends? What's the ego telling our friends? What's the ego telling our friends? Oh, our ego's telling our friends here. Okay, so fear, let's marry fear with avoiding your soul purpose. Ego does not want you doing your soul purpose. So we can use this fear as an excuse, right? Listening to the ego. It's an ego trap, right? Using this fear to keep us away from our soul purpose, right? And this is choosing to go on a vacation, or like, I'm too weak, I don't have enough resources, I have to focus on me, I can't serve, right? This is a big trap by the ego, okay? So the best thing to do, this is a $1 billion hot tip right now, is if you have a problem, whatever your problem is, that you're worried about, that's bringing up so much fear, it's like what you do is you put a prayer out, put your hands in prayer pose, you put a prayer out, and it's like, who can I serve right now? Who needs my help? Who can I serve? And then you'll have a flash of their face, or it's just some kind of awareness that it's this person, and then you reach out. You reach out to that person, and you just say, if that person is spiritual, I was really called by Spirit to connect with you today. I don't know why. How are you doing? Right? So what you're doing is you're not only helping them, right? By helping them, you're helping yourself. This is the Aquarian age. We have to start connecting one another. Rachel Reed, listen to this. Don't isolate yourself. The ego wants you isolated, wants you alone, listening to that voice in your head, watching the movie, the nightmare movie, right, of what's going to happen to you, right? Having a cup, living in a cardboard box with your cup out, whatever it is, to reach out, right? Reach out. And this helps you because we learn about our soul purpose by giving, by serving others, right? So just try it today. It's like, I'm in fear and I don't want to isolate. I don't want to be trapped with this ego. It's just making things worse. I'm feeling stuck. I'm not getting out of it, right? It's because the ego doesn't want you doing your soul purpose, right? So you'll notice when you're with people, things will start to happen, right, around you, because you have this energetic connection. It's like, oh, I didn't know that I had this gift, or this person's reflecting back something back to me, right? So it's a win-win for everybody. The ego doesn't want us connecting with one another, right? In this way. So it could even be online too. You can connect with others online. And you can't escape from your destiny. So that's your soul purpose. But your ultimate soul purpose is to realize yourself, to be that eternal being, right? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll put a coupon on my website, and I'll put it below too. But I'll see you tomorrow for the full moon in Sagittarius. But really take in this message, right, deeply. And the discernment is when you're in fear. This isn't me, and I'm not going to be sucked into this parallel timeline. Maybe I've been sucked into that parallel timeline of fear for lifetime after lifetime after lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, and I'm not doing it in this lifetime. The thing is, you have to value your spirituality more than this external world. That's your true security. It's not out here. The ego promises all this security out here if you do this and you go out and grab this and get this. And it's all lies, right? It's all lies. Your true security is found within your eternity. So you have to value this above all else, or you're just going to get sucked into that timeline, right? So it's breaking out of the delusion. That's what it means to awaken, is to break out of the delusion in this dream that you've been in, right? You believe that you're this little tiny being, right? And the ego is such a speck compared to the greatness of who you are, right? The vastness and beauty of who you really are, right? So make that a commitment. I value my spiritual journey right now. It's not just a weekend cappuccino, nice talk that I have with people. It's like, no, I'm committed to this. I'm committed to this in this lifetime, right? Okay? So I'll see you tomorrow, probably around 3:30 my time, 3:30 Hawaii Standard Time, so whatever that is, okay? And I hope to see you in the Phoenix program at least, and then the group coaching, which is six people. I'm already 6 to 8 people, and I'm already doing a little group right now, and it's really, we're on fire, right? I want to get more people on fire with this work, okay? So blessings to you, and take care, and I'll see you tomorrow, okay? Satnam Aloha, everybody.